Hi, PeratonWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday morning, August 26th. We have an increasing threat for a hurricane along the Gulf coastal region by the early part of next week. We discussed the possibilities yesterday, and they certainly have, if anything, grown in the overnight hours. And there is even the threat of a major hurricane with this particular system. We'll talk about some of the factors involved over the next few minutes. Let's start off by looking at the latest visible satellite imagery loop from the College of DuPage weather website. This is the island of Jamaica, and there's kind of a better organized area of showers and thunderstorms roaming through the Caribbean Sea region and the island of Jamaica right now. And this is Cuba right here on the northern side of this particular image. And the question over the next 12 to 24 hours or so, exactly where this system will move over the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico, western edge of Cuba, or somewhere in between and remain over the waters. Let's now take a look at the exact positioning of not only this particular tropical storm of concern, but two others out over the Atlantic. Well, here's the setup as we begin the day here on Thursday. This is officially called Invest 99L. It's liable to become Ida. That is the next named tropical system. However, this system out over the Atlantic has a chance to become named before this one, so not sure if this will actually become Ida. Here's the position right now just south of Jamaica, the island of Cuba, and the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico. It will continue on a northwest track over the next 12 to 24 hours or so, likely spill out over into the Gulf of Mexico by the early part of the weekend. Now, whether it moves over the northeastern tip of Yucatan or possibly the western tip of Cuba, still uncertain at this particular time. Of course, the best scenario for residents along the Gulf coastal region would be for it to move over some part of the landmass of Mexico or Cuba in order to weaken. Of course, it's not good news for those landmass areas, but there is a possibility it cuts right in between, stays over the warmer waters just on the timetable of entering the Gulf of Mexico. And all residents at this point, from the Florida Panhandle across Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, all residents in this area have to closely monitor this particular system. There are signs it could move in this direction up towards Louisiana by the early part of next week, but still a few days away, and that could certainly shift a little bit to the west or to the east. There's even the chance that this system reaches major hurricane status, that is Category 3 or above. Water temperatures, which we'll talk about in a moment, very, very warm. In fact, abnormally warm for this time of the year. And this is a warm time of the year, the latter part of August. We'll see in a moment, sea surface temperatures are 85 degrees and higher in the northwestern Gulf of Mexico. Certainly typically a favorable sign for development of a particular system. Of course, it depends on atmospheric conditions as well. But this is the main concern right now. There are indeed a couple other systems out over the Atlantic Ocean. Nothing to worry about with respect to those over the next several days. Well, we'll talk about a couple of the factors going forward that will play a role in the ultimate outcome of this particular tropical system. Sea surface temperatures, certainly in the Gulf of Mexico, will play an important role, and the 500 millibar height pattern, upper level pressure pattern, will play an important role as well. We've kind of focused in on those two areas over the last several days, not only with this system, but last week's system as well, Henri, that moved into the southern part of New England. First of all, these are the actual sea surface temperatures as we begin the day here on Thursday, not the anomalies, and they're shown here in Celsius. Very warm water, generally 30 degrees Celsius and above, so that's 86 degrees and above in the all-important northwestern part of the Gulf of Mexico. By the way, last week we talked about the likelihood that Henri would tend to weaken as it approached the southern New England coastline because of this tongue of colder water here. Again, we're not looking at the anomalies, we're looking at actual sea surface temperatures right here. And indeed, temperatures in the upper 60s, lower 70s just off the southern New England coastline. And in fact, Henri did weaken slightly from a Category 1 hurricane in this region to a tropical storm when it reached land. Unfortunately, that benefit will not be available to the Gulf coastal residents. Certainly, warm enough water here to support the development of a hurricane and the development even of a major hurricane. So that is one bullish factor on the storm side here, the sea surface temperatures over the northwestern Gulf of Mexico. Well, before we take a look at last night's GFS model run, let's now look at the temperature anomalies of the water in the Gulf of Mexico. We just looked at the actual temperatures, very, very warm, 85 degrees and above, and that is actually above normal for this time of the year. The orange and red here signals above normal sea surface temperatures, and we're in the latter part of August. The sea surface temperatures actually reach a peak between now and, let's say, the middle part of September in the Gulf of Mexico and the western part of the Atlantic Ocean. That is really why the hurricane season tends to reach a peak this time of the year by now all the way to the latter part of the month of September. But not only are temperatures warm here in the Gulf of Mexico, but they're significantly above normal. And again, likelihood is for a storm to travel perhaps right in this region. It could go over the northeastern tip of the Yucatan, maybe the western tip of Cuba, but end in this general fashion over the next several days. Again, we're talking about possible landfall anywhere in this region during the early part of next week, maybe the Monday time frame, and all residents from the Florida Panhandle to Texas stay on guard. Well, I just want to show one particular forecast map from the 6Z run of the GFS. This is for Sunday morning, a very important time for the approach of this particular system. Again, we're talking maybe Sunday, Monday time frame for the Gulf coastal region. 500 millibar height anomaly pattern, and again, we've talked about the red flag whenever there is a strong high pressure ridge over the southeastern part of Canada. That just opens the door for movement of tropical systems in this fashion here from the east to the west, and indeed it is a favorable position for some activity in the Gulf of Mexico. This is the reflection of 500 millibars by the 6Z run of the GFS. Somewhere near the southeastern part of the Louisiana coastline. Well, we briefly touched upon two important factors here that we'll monitor closely over the next few days: sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico and that upper level height pattern, the upper level pressure pattern over the southeastern part of Canada. And now let's take a look at the surface forecast maps from the 6Z GFS model run going forward. By the way, hot and humid continues in the mid-Atlantic region. We kind of reintroduced the possibility of a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon in the mid-Atlantic region, maybe a little better chance tonight and tomorrow. And any storm that forms in this hot and humid air mass can be on the strong to severe side during the next 48 hours or so. Certainly high temperatures in the 90s, probably the 90 to 95 degree range this afternoon and Friday afternoon in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. Let's now focus in on the Gulf of Mexico. And here we are now. This particular model run has a storm system moving over the western part of Cuba. That would temporarily weaken this particular system. However, with those sea surface temperatures so warm and with the upper level height pattern so favorable, any weakening will probably revert back to some intensification once it's out over the warm waters of the Gulf. Notice here 992 millibar at this particular time. Then it spills out over in the Gulf. Look at that, rapidly intensifying down to 974 by Saturday afternoon. Not a good scenario. Again, take this storm seriously anywhere along the Gulf Coast. Not only may it become a major hurricane, it may be intensifying in those last 24 to 48 hours or so. And this particular model run now has it slamming into the southeastern part of Louisiana. And I will say, European model, somewhat similar, has certainly a strong hurricane into the central part of the Gulf Coast region at this same time. This is late in the day on Sunday. We're talking Sunday, Monday time frame. So again, continue to monitor any residents along the Gulf Coast from Texas all the way to Florida's Panhandle. After landfall, it's liable to turn to the north and then the northeast, and ultimately could bring some heavy rainfall to the Tennessee Valley where they don't need it, and then even into the mid-Atlantic region by the middle part of next week. So certainly a system that bears watching, especially for all Gulf Coastal region residents from the Florida Panhandle to Texas. That's it for now. For PeratonWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.